Welcome to Life Today TV. I'm Randy Robison. I have with me an actor, a producer, a writer, Brett Granstaff. He's with a new film called The Masked Saint, which, if it's not already out in theaters or on video by the time you're watching this, is coming out real soon. So, yes, you never know with online, right?
Exactly.
Welcome to Life Today. Okay, so let's talk about The Masked Saint, because that's the new one, that's the hot one.
Right.
Give everybody a little bit of quick overview of what they're getting, because I know when I saw this originally, I'm like, okay, preacher, wrestler, vigilante, what the heck movie is this, right?
You know, it's interesting. That's kind of what drew me to the story, because it's a true story about a pastor who is also a professional wrestler. And as I like to say, he always happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe it's the right place at the right time. If you believe that God always, but if you believe that God kind of puts you where you're supposed to be, you know. And so throughout the movie, it's about he's a new pastor. He quits professional wrestling, becomes a pastor, has a new church, and just the church, it's struggling. He can't really sustain itself, you know. And so he gets back into wrestling to help the church kind of pay its bills.
And it's in a rough area of Michigan, Detroit.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So he's got a lot of seedy characters around.
A lot of seedy characters.
There's a lot of heroic activity that needs to take place.
Yes, yeah. So it's kind of like the faith-based action film, so to speak.
So what is the true story? Because, I mean, that's a little, I wouldn't have come up with that on my own, right?
Well, it is. What we did is we condensed the timeline into things that happened, but throughout his ministry, he was actually, it originally took place in Florida. And he was a professional wrestler in all like the southern circuits in Texas and, you know, all the independents. And as he was a pastor, and he actually would do all these charity fundraisers through wrestling to like help people with like bills with like hospitals. And he actually had to help like rebuild a church. So they did a bunch of wrestling events. And but he literally in his true life, he would just be at these places just at the right place at the right time, and he would actually intervene, and he helped stop a robbery. There was a woman that was being attacked, and he saved her. So there's all these, and we just kind of took all his little like stories and put them into like a continuous
that's kind of crazy. Now, stunt and double, or was that you?
No, it was me. That was part of the deal for me doing the movie.
He does wear a mask in a lot of it. He does. So I was like, but I was like, it still looks like you.
No, it's me. It's me. That was part of the fun of doing the movie. I told him, I said, if I do this, I don't want to stunt double. I want to actually learn how to wrestle, because I grew up watching wrestling. You know?
Oh, so And I will say that the wrestling scenes look great. Who is the monster guy in there?
Okay, so that's James Preston Rogers, and he actually he trained me. He went through WWE's training camp, and he was about to premiere, and then he got hurt, and he decided just wrestling wasn't for him, and he became a stunt man. And he actually trained me, and he choreographed all the matches for us. And he's the real deal.
Yeah, it looked good, but he's
7 feet tall.
Is he really?
Oh yeah. And so when I'm up there, and he has me above his head, and I'm looking down, I'm like 14 feet, with his hands all the way up. I'm just like, oh man, there's nothing fake about wrestling. Like, it hurts when you hit that canvas. It hurts.
Yeah. Oh, that is crazy. Now, this was the last movie, I believe, of.
Yes,
Roddy.
It was very sad. So we had Roddy Piper, and it was actually a funny story how it came. We were sitting around a casting table with our casting director, and we're like, "Who should we get to play Nikki Stone?" And in the movie, Roddy plays like the CD promoter, And we're all pitching all these names out, and all of a sudden, the casting director's assistant comes in, and she goes, "I have a Roddy Piper on the phone." And I'm like, "Roddy Piper?"
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, please, And he's like, "I hear you're doing a wrestling movie." I'm like, yes, sir." He's like, "I want to be the wrestler." I'm like, "Oh, that role's already taken." It's like, "But there's a really good role you might be in." And we sent him the script, and he called back right after he read it and was like, "I'm in, I want to do it."
That's crazy.
So,
yeah, great. So, you've done a lot of other films.
Yes.
Not even ones we would call faith-based films by any means. With Bruce Willis, Nick Cage, whether it's writing or producing and acting, in some cases. So what's kind of your, what do you see yourself? Are you?
I'm more of a producer.
Yeah.
In terms of my acting career versus producing, like my producing is way up here. Like I just had a film with Johnny Depp that I produced. My acting, Black Mass, came out September 18th.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
So that was.
So you're involved in that.
Yeah, and I originated that. I had the original, the book, and I wrote the original script, and then hired new writers, and I packaged the whole film.
Congrats.
So thank you. So, but I like true stories. So like that's what kind of drew me to The Masked Saint. It was a true story, and it was about, like you said, a pastor, but he's a wrestler, but he's kind of like a vigilante beating people. I always say and it was just fascinating to me. I'm like, is this real? Like, it doesn't seem real, right?
Right, like Machine Gun Preacher kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I always say, Pastor Chris is a pastor that doesn't always turn the other cheek, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
Or maybe he just runs out of cheeks.
yeah.
You can only turn your cheek once, and
Right,
then
right.
what? But, okay, so let me ask you about this. What about your faith? I mean, are you a Christian, or
Yeah,
are you
yes,
just
sir.
into
Yes, sir, I am.
true stories? Okay.
Yeah. I am, and it was, it's funny to me. I've watched a lot of the faith-based movies, and I've always thought, they're good stories, but the production value just isn't really there, and like if they had
None of us
spent
have ever thought that. I don't know what you're talking about.
a little more time. And so when I came across this story, actually I own a company called Red Rock Entertainment, and I decided to create a faith-based division because I'd like to do more faith-based type films.
Okay.
And so this is hopefully the first film of a few that I want to do. But my whole idea was I wanted to bring kind of Hollywood production value and Hollywood storytelling to the faith-based market, because I think there's a lot of people who would say they're Christian or want to see a faith-based film, but they're kind of hard to watch sometimes. I mean, let's be honest, So if I could do a film that was kind of branch out to maybe get some people that identify as Christian but wouldn't necessarily see a Christian like faith-based film.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That was my goal, is kind of bring in a bigger crowd into the faith-based realm.
Yeah, I know a guy who used to tell stories that everybody could understand in order to communicate a spiritual truth.
Right.
A guy named Jesus Christ. So I like what you're doing here. So what can the Christian community do to help you guys that are artists out here doing it and bridging the Hollywood church divide and trying to do good Christian movies?
I think it's just continue to support Christian films. And I know there's it's funny. Kind of once something makes money in Hollywood, everyone kind of jumps on the bandwagon.
Absolutely.
So you see all these kind of Hollywood like studios that are doing the faith-based films,
and then
now.
they butcher them.
And they're bad. But I think just continually support. Whenever you see a faith-based movie, just go check it out, because at the end of the day, it still is a business, and if filmmakers don't make money, you probably don't get to do another one. And there's a lot of good stories out there that need to be told. So just continue supporting the faith-based films.
Okay. And The Masked Saint, what's the website for that?
It's themasksaint.com. It comes out January 8th.
Okay.
So and just we're going to be in 600 theaters nationwide.
Okay, good. That's a good start.
Yeah. So it's a good start, and if we do well the opening weekend, then we're going to expand and go even wider.
Okay.
But we're in 250 markets, so it's a big release. So
Good.
I'm really excited about it.
Good. Now, that means if you're watching this before the opening weekend, go online, find out where it's showing. If it's showing near you, show up at the theater. That's how you can get more Christian movies made. And if you missed that already, go find it and wherever it ends up. Do you have a distribution deal on the back end yet?
We do. Yeah, it's going to be on VOD, and then it's going to be on Netflix. The whole thing. It's already ready to go.
Okay, so when they track these things, so when people watch them, it all tracks back to you guys, and so that's helpful. So go watch it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And check it out, The Masked Saint, in theaters, online, on demand, wherever you can find it.